How are you? How many of you got and read the ping? Okay, well, let me just remind you of one line in it. Come and join the flight deck this week when once again we'll try to grab hold of the presence and the power of the King and simply hang on. Okay, I mean, you have to go where he's going, okay? It's just kind of like, wouldn't you rather do that? I mean, sometimes for some folks it's awkward, and oh well. Jesus made a lot of people awkward, right? And then he loved a lot of awkward people, which includes us. So anyway. Father, thank you for how you have been moving, and we're just going to stay with you. Lord, I don't know out of this teaching what you still want, if any or all. Because it's completely about you. And all I want to do is keep holding on. Amen. Wow. Okay. That's kind of fun. Wore my fingers out, but it's fun. Let me tell you. It's so cool to have Joshua here as part of that. Okay, well, I'm going to kind of move through this because we're in a very critical time, and this is going to fit onto things we've had before. So again, we get new people joining us all the time on the web, and sometimes we just have to give a quick context. So again, this BR model was released prophetically over 10 years ago by that man back there, Jerry Hardis, during a phone conversation that blew my head open because of this one statement about us being more like an aircraft carrier. But the thing about an aircraft carrier, I love this phrase that's from one of the people that makes them. It's 90,000 tons of diplomacy, right? Wherever the carriers go, they project a power. And so understand that you're part of a carrier, and we're going to be commissioning a group to go out tonight to Brazil. And it's the same thing. The carrier shows up in the region and it shifts the atmosphere there. Okay. There's just dynamics that go on with that. And so, we do this process every week where you come in and land, and during this time you have been getting recalibrated. Yes. Repaired, probably, definitely refueled. You're going to get rearmed through the whole thing and briefed, because you got to know what's out there. You get launched back out again, and then we keep an open comm, right? Because you can't be out there solo. So we have to be tracking what's going on. And in the center of all that is really just their hosting the presence. And this happens, yeah. And we've been walking in this model now, did you know that, for 10 years? And it's still vibrant to me. It still makes complete sense. And so launching other people, but to Brazil is one thing, but you all have assignments out there. The question is, where's your assignment this week? And then do you see clearly what the field of battle is out there? Okay. It's real important, don't you think, that you see clearly on that so you know what to do? And do you know your position in it? And so the idea about recalibrating and briefing is just going to be kind of core in here, because it's been so crazy out there. Yeah? Would you admit that it's gotten, just when you think it's maybe gotten a little settled down, it seems like it gets more bizarre. And you're like, oh my goodness. So how do you see the current times? And the question is, do you see it clearly enough, or are you wearing glasses like this? And that is always the problem. And one of the best, funnest texts that I know about dealing with that deals right here with Elijah, when suddenly he was giving too much intel, right? And so troops were sent against him. When the servant of the man of God got up and went out early the next morning, an army with horses and chariots had surrounded the city. Oh, no, my Lord, what shall we do? The servant asked, right? You know this passage, right? Out of 2 Kings. Don't be afraid, the prophet answered. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. Don't you love that? Say that. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. You got it, okay? And Elisha prayed, open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see. Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked and saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. Right? They're seeing, and then they're seen. And the issue is, are we seeing? Do we get it? Because so often God is showing us things, and he's showing up, and we're just missing it. Okay? So, again, we're in this now time, first month linked to the third month. Of course, when you, Egypt, Passover, getting to Mount Sinai, to Pentecost, and these are linked together by what's called the counting the Omer. God said, count every day to make sure he linked first fruits, what was happening here, with Pentecost there. And so we move from being free to being full, from being saved to being sanctified, from being sealed to being saturated. And this is largely what God accomplished for us, and we move into more of what God accomplishes with us. Yeah? So we're in that process, but to get from there to there, you go through the center section when they were flung out of Egypt, but they're just kind of this mass that are out there. And so God's going to have a lot of things he's got to teach them even before they get to Sinai, because they still don't really understand a lot about Yahweh, right? They've heard tales, but it's just not quite clear there. So a lot of things will come down, but this fourfold T thing, I think, is really critical in this month for all of us, that he's teaching, he's training, he's testing, and it's all about transition. Any of you feel like you've been getting tested this month? Okay. And in that, if we're listening, there's teaching and training, right? But you have to get, okay, but all of that isn't just so that you get it, it's so that you transition. Okay? You don't want to just stay there and be better informed. You want to move into the next. Do you want to move into what's next? Okay, yes, agreed. And you're in this month called Iyar. So that is the second month, and it's linked to the second tribe, which is Issachar. And you know about Issachar, but let's just connect the dots again. The prophecy over Issachar by Moses out there is about that they are the Torah. Well, he doesn't say you're the Torah tribe, but he says, rejoice, Issachar, in your tents. And the idea throughout the tradition in terms of Issachar was they were the Torah tribe. They were the one who studied the scrolls, who understand, who watched. And because of this, then we read later on, oops, sorry, I'm going to skip one other. The princes of Issachar with Deborah. So Deborah is considered among those, excuse me. And then from Issachar, who understood the times and knew what Israel should do, right? And so this critical part about not just understanding the times is one thing. There are people who understand the times and then don't know what to do about it. You got to be able to have both, right? And they're also in the first triad. We're going to look at that a little bit more. Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun, the first three. But just to connect it to a New Testament verse, look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. So there again, you get the time, right, and what to do. Okay? And it's because we're supposed to maximize what's going on now. You okay there? Okay. Just checking in. Lord, spear this up. Okay, so quickly, we've been looking then over the last 2 weeks. If you haven't seen those, I don't normally encourage people to go back and watch replays, because I think if you've heard me once, you've heard it enough. But in this case, the last 2 weeks are significant, and we're going to connect on those. And speaking of Deborah as part of Issachar, one of the battles we've been looking at, because of the connection here, is the one that involves the two of them. When she calls out to Barak and says, okay, has not the Lord commanded you, go and deploy? And the Lord says, I will deliver Sisera into your hands. So that is set in the stage, not where someone has come against them, but where the Lord's saying, I've got a strategy to deal with the enemy, and I need to deploy you. And the other battle that we've been looking at is tied to this month, because it's in this time when the Amalekites came up and attacked Israel. and they kept him in this place called rest, Rephidim. And you know, of course, you have this division of labor where Moses goes up on the top with the staff and Joshua's down in the valley with the sword. And out of those two things, just felt like God was giving these 7 directives. I'm just kind of reviewing a little bit about you've got to pivot your perspective. You have to identify the true enemy, find the right battlefield, align the time, reposition to prevail, raise the standard, and do right in full engagement. And that's a whole lot, just a blah, 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 blah. So if you haven't watched that or seen it, I'd encourage you to do that. But my challenge was it still felt a little too complex, okay? Years ago, one of the things that Papa Jim said to me, I think prophetically, is simplify says semper fi. Semper fi means the always faithful, right? Simplify says semper fi. So I always try to look at that. So I'm going to get to that in just one moment, but I want to add one other military moment to the context, because Israel goes out, they go through the transition, they do a lot of other ups and downs, but in the second month, in the second year, God does 2 things. One, he takes a military census, so they count exactly how many they've got for battle. That's on the first day of the second month. And then after he does that, they do this. Now it came to pass on the 20th day of the second month in the second year. By the way, the 20th day, that is tomorrow evening, is the 20th day of the second month, just so you know how this aligns in the biblical calendar. That the cloud was taken up from above the tabernacle of the testimony. So they started out for the first time according to the command of the Lord by the hand of Moses. The standard of the camp of the children of Judah set out first according to their armies. Over their army was Nahshon, son of Amminadab. Over the army of the tribe of the children of Issachar was Nathaniel, the son of Zuar. And over the army of the tribe of the children of Zebulun was Eliab, the son of Helon. Okay, that was a little too simple. I wasn't going to, okay. So in the wilderness, this was the birth order, right? But God is saying, you know what? I've rearranged your time. I would need to rearrange the tribes now. And so I'm going to put my presence in the center, and then I'm going to reallocate you this way. And so at the entrance on the eastern side, you have Issachar right there, and they're linked in between Judah and Zebulun. It's a really critical triad that goes there. And then similarly, when they march out to war, he does the same thing. Judah goes first, but then Issachar and Zebulun. And he has this so they're part of that front effort, that front triad that is pushing things forward. And there's an interesting thread, and we'll go in depth tonight, but you've got Judah, which is known for worship and warfare, right? The tribe of Issachar is the Torah tribe. They knew the times and seasons and what to do. And then you've got Zebulun, who is the commerce, the going tribe, okay? The one about resources and has an abundance mindset. And these 3 are connected together, but it's Issachar who really links them. Because in worship and warfare, you have to know the timing, right? When you're doing each. And when you're moving out and into the commerce thing, you've got to, again, be connected in the times and seasons. So just to pull off a few principles. Oh, one more thing here. So it was when the ark set out that Moses said, "Rise up, O Lord." Say, "Rise up, O Lord." Rise up, O Lord. Okay, that's still a little bit weak. Say it again. Rise up. Yeah, you have to understand, this is a battle cry. It says, Moses said, but you have to get that this would have been, the nation would have declared this, okay? And the rest of this, let your enemies be scattered and let those who hate you flee before you. And when it rested, he said, return, O Lord, to the many thousands of Israel. So let me just pull some other things from this, and then I'm going to get into these 4 questions. So this is the month when they finally moved out as an army. Before that, they had been sort of this mob in the wilderness. You get this? Because they were freed from slavery, and they came out, and they met at Sinai, and good things and bad things happen out of that. We'll roll that out. But finally, they're organized. They're literally counted, and then they mobilized to move out by these military units. but it is only, say only, at the direction of his movement. And it's fully aligned with the prophetic and the apostolic. It's only in the order that God gave, not in however they wanted to just do it themselves. And it's with the battle cry that you are present and it's your battle. You get that? Okay. So very simple. Whatever you're dealing with now, I want to just give you these 4 questions to ask. Number 1, is God present? Number 2, what is this battle? Number 3, is this your fight, Lord? And number 4, where is my place and part? That fairly simple? All I want you to do is get these 4, because the idea is, Kim and I see a lot of you guys go through a lot of stuff, and the challenge is you often aren't fighting the fight you need to be. You're getting diverted. You're going after other stuff. You're getting after the minors and missing the majors. Okay? And sorry, I think my phone just answered me on something. Okay. It's kind of weird. It's like, okay, I couldn't find a suitable answer for you. Okay, well, it's... It's a little weird, doesn't it? When you're sitting there, you're talking to somebody, suddenly your phone answers back. It's like, okay. The idea being, we need just a way to kind of self-diagnose and get clarity on this, because you want to be putting your time and energy and resources to the right place. Would you agree? And the enemy would love to just keep you in the haze. So let's get going. Is God present? Well, that's kind of a stupid question, isn't it? I mean, obviously God is omnipresent, right? So is God everywhere? Okay, so it's kind of a dumb question, because he even says, look, I am with you always to the end of the age. But there are other qualifications in Scripture, like Jesus says, where 2 or more are gathered. You're going, wait a minute, but you're everywhere. I am with you in that. There's a different way in which the presence manifests. It says that the Lord inhabits the praises of his people. In the midst of the worship and stuff like this, right, the presence just got real heavy. And God shows up and starts saying, okay, well, this is my show. We're like, good. Would you prefer that than everything neat and orderly? And I mean, anyway, sorry. You know, you want consistent, persistent, regular. There's a lot of places you can go. Okay. I mean, anyway. And sometimes that's nice. Let me tell you, right? There's times, give me 3 hymns, short sermon, and let me go. Anyway. Okay. But maybe it's a way to say it, is he present or is there presence? Jesus says, if I be lifted up, then I will. In Exodus 17, it says this, and they tested the Lord by saying, is the Lord among us or not? It's not actually a casual question, it's the question. And by this, what do I mean then? Is God present? Have I recognized in the midst of the crazy, I'm getting my eyes off all of that stuff. God, are you present here and now? Am I really honoring you? Do you have full lead in this? Do I get that it's about you? It's not about me, whatever it is I'm dealing with. Are you present fully? Do you get this? I think it's so easy for us to kind of get very cavalier. I love the phrase, I don't know where the origin was, is, but we've grown far too familiar with a God we don't even know. In the midst of when you're feeling a battle, something going on, is God present? And because the reality is a lot of times we're simply not very good at recognizing that. We're so distracted in the fight that we're not being aware of it. And one of the things we saw in the battle with the Amalekites was that that staff represented the presence and the power of God. It wasn't about prayer. It was about recognizing he was there. He was over it all. As a result, then when it came down lowered, right, the battle shifted. And we have to be just keeping that in mind. Is God fully present? Because just as you do that, right, things will shift in your brain. Hello? Yeah? You kind of how you see it. Because suddenly you're just, for one thing, you're taking a deep breath. Because you can't be frenetic when the presence is really there, right? Because it kind of stills. It's the question. That makes sense? Okay, it's God present. Number 2, what is this battle? Say, what is this battle? This gets down to identifying, I had it earlier about making sure you're clear about what the enemy is, right? Identifying the enemy. This is just another way to do it because, you know, is the fight against the world, the flesh, or the devil? We looked at that last week. Again, if you didn't see that, go back and watch it because we press into it more. This was a traditional understanding that was the 3 main components. The issue is, though, is that it's often a combination of some or all. It's the old thing, you know, we have met the enemy and it is us. But too often we get wrapped around the axles thinking it's their problem. It's that thing. And we don't know that it's in here unresolved. And we've got to then be able to get better at clearing the fog. And that was largely what last week was about. This fact that you have the fog within and the fog without. And it's tough sometimes to identify who or what you're fighting when there's all that haze. And the fog without is largely brought on by a tremendous amount of distraction. This being perhaps the greatest single source of it, right? And the other can be other people, okay? But we're like, sorry, what was that movie, Up? Hi, my name is, what was the name of the dog? Doug. Hi, my name is Doug. I am very squirrel. Happy to meet you. When are you squirrel? You know, and I think we're just like that. And as a result, it creates a haze because we're just being jerked so many places, right? And the distractions move us in so many ways. I want to just touch on something that was helpful for me years ago by Stephen Covey. Who taught on the 7 habits of highly effective people. But this was a helpful concept. Some of you have seen it, maybe you haven't, so let me just look. You have 3 circles. You have the circle of concern, okay? Now this can have everything from politics to the economy to you name it. It's a lot of stuff. Now you also will have very personal stuff, right? Can I pay a bill? Can I do this? But inside of that, you have a circle of influence. Because the reality is about the circle of concern is, for the most part, you can't control or do much or anything about that. And so you have a circle of influence. These are places where you actually can help shift and make change, but it's also not your control. The inner circle is your circle of control. So let me just ask you, what is it that you can control? Not much. Sorry. Decision making. What else? Ourselves. Yeah. Yourself, your own mindset, your own heart set, right? What you look at, where you go. This is it. Problem though, right? Because so often we try to expand that circle, and it depends on where our focus is. When you see people and they're constantly railing about all this stuff out there on the circle of concern, they're focused on it more and more and more. What happens is actually their influence on other people shrinks. Okay? They really can change even less, because every time you see them, all they're doing is bitching about something else. And it's all out there. Nothing they're doing about it. Might even be about work, okay? Might be something more close to home, not just the economy or politics or whatever. And they're just there. And as a result, then their circle of influence actually shrinks. Because it's like, okay, I don't need to be around that person. So often the case, and what it is just, again, more and more of that distraction coming at us. That's one way to deal with it. The other way is this, where you begin to work on what you can control, what you say, what you let hang out in your mind, what you look at, what you meditate upon, okay? How you're engaging these things. What's interesting they found is people work on that part of it, what you pray, when you pray, what you're reading, how are you feeding all that. When you look at that, that expands because you're governing more of yourself, that your circle of influence actually gets bigger. Not because you're not trying to control them, but because we would say it this way, you're getting more and more juice of the Holy Spirit. Would you agree that the more the Holy Spirit has of you, the more influence you have? That's what that is, folks. That makes sense? So just be aware of those three circles. Okay, so the control is here. What can I do here? Apart from then, and it will help minimize some of those distractions for out there. And I would encourage you to go home, draw those three circles and write stuff in them. What's all the stuff I'm trying to control that I really can't? And I may not even be able to influence it. Hello? No? Okay. Going to keep going. So then we walk through this just real briefly, but you get two people in an argument, there's a battle going on, and all these things are in play. The flesh with its brokenness, its wounds, its bias, its fear, its old triggers and strongholds. Any one of us, right, can be in this. And then you got the world system going on in there, and it's got an expectation because there's a lot of entitlement going around, okay? A lot of patterns and habits and scarcity and the demand for honor, et cetera, et cetera. And that whole system gets pulling and creating it. And then, of course, you have an enemy who loves to just step into the middle of that and start pulling and pushing on the access points. Drops in thoughts. Oh, he never respected you. Well, that makes the conversation go real well. Right? Person could be completely respectful, but suddenly that thought goes off on you. Get you back up. So the enemy loves this because so often the brokenness and the woundedness in each other gives a place for the demonic to set up shop. And when that happens and he gets the two of us together, then it's like a play date for him. Oh, good. My garbage can play with yours. Seriously, right? And we talked about this, and one foul spirit engages the other, and frankly, then they're just off to the races. And folks, you're seeing this all the time. You're seeing this all the time on the news and different things in the political arena and everything else. You're just, okay. See it. Does that make sense? You've got it. So we have to be prudent asking the question, what is this battle? What mix of this? Let me get some clarity on it. And then this is a huge question. Is this your fight, Lord? Or not? Right? Simple question. Say, is this your fight, Lord? There is so much stuff that we're wrapped up around and angry about, and it's just not his fight. And if we would just ask him, and he'd go, nope. Well, crap. You mean I'm in on this on my own? Yep. How's that working out for you? Yeah. So often, just it's one simple question. Is this your fight, Lord? And see what he says. Yeah, it is. But there's nuance, different place and time or strategy. So that difference again between concern, influence, and control, where you're reaching out. And so understand this, no matter where you see injustice, poverty, inequality, deception, etc., those are all his fights, right? Those are all his fights, but you have to remember how he has engaging you for the time and place. Do you get this? Like you can see injustice anywhere, and frankly, yes, he's in that fight somewhere because that's what the kingdom's about. But you're asking him and it regards you. And just remember, for instance, Jesus went to the pool of Bethesda, and you read the story, and there's all sorts of 6, and yet he goes to only 1. Okay, do you get that? The mission was not everybody there. It was one and done, and then he disappears. Jehoshaphat, I love this, that Jehaziel says when they think they're going to be taken out, do not be afraid nor dismayed because of this great multitude, for the battle is not yours, but God's. One of the great things about getting clear when God says, yeah, this is my fight, suddenly you just kind of go, oh, good. Right? Okay. Wow. That's good news. And you know what? A no is also good news, because then you know you can lay it down, because it's just like, this is stupid. I ain't going to win this. Hello. Here's another. Because if we don't align right in time and know it's his fight, this happens in Numbers 14. The morning after they hear the bad news, they're not getting the promised land, and they decide to head on up and attack against who? Guess what? The Amalekites. Do not go up lest you be defeated by your enemies, for the Lord is not among you. Yeah? Make sense? Kind of simple, right? And then this last one, where is my place and part? So is God fully present? That was the first one. What was the second one? What is this battle? Getting clarity. Third one is this your fight? Good. Thank you. Who's somebody's? Yay. Okay. Yeah. Third is fourth is where's my place and part? Because it has to do with your position in time, location, and the strategy. And I know there's a lot of parts to this, but if you'll get through those first three, suddenly you go, okay, so you're in this fight. It's clearly about this issue or this person, right? And okay, so what is my place and part in this now, God? And here's where we listen again, because God's saying, not how you're engaging it. Hello? The time and place. Just now, for instance, I told you about Jesus healing at the pool of Bethesda, right? As soon as he's done healing, because it's on the Sabbath, what does he do? He's out of there. Time and place. Because if he stays, there's going to be another level of fight. And that wasn't the place and time. Hello? Have to know. And there's an alignment and an order in the midst of all of that that we have to sink into. And I love David's question at Ziklag. You know, after they come back, it's been burned and pillaged. And I love this. You know, they're ready to stone him, right? And it says, David consoled himself in the Lord. I think that's where he goes. Is God present? And he just dials in the midst of that crazy. Is God present? Okay, what is this battle? Is this your fight? Where do I fit in? And he asks, and the Lord says, yes, go after him. How about Jesus? John 7, his brothers say, you know, everybody who's famous needs to show off, go up to Jerusalem. And he says, my time has not yet come, but your time is always ready. Jesus is always staying specifically in time, and later he goes up, but he goes up secretly, and he doesn't even go into the temple, right? He goes into the other courts. Time and place. Where is my place and part? You getting this? Okay, there's kind of a lot, but there's not. It's just sort of light and easy. I'm trying to find some simple ways in which, boom, 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 you can just go down and figure out, okay, I need to get some clarity about this. So alignment and order, this is important. The Deborah and Barak, okay? First the prophetic, then the apostolic. I know it's first apostles, then prophets, and okay, you know the order, right? But you have to get this. The way that it works is the prophetic comes down first, because otherwise the apostle is responsible to war and build and set in order. But if the apostolic isn't functioning right under the prophetic, they'll war and build and set in order something that was rather than something that's supposed to be. Okay. There are a lot of people that are apostles. And, you know, we've had apostles for years. They weren't called that. And they were really good leaders because they got some sort of vision and they built this whole structure and this whole system and they put all these things into place and everything else. And that was wonderful. Okay. But very often we start something and God says, okay, but you're only supposed to go this far. And meanwhile, I'm over here. The prophetic has to be sowing into it all the time. So the apostolic knows, what's the Lord saying now? Very easy to war and build for something that you got this vision. And then, well, this is Peter on the Mount of Transfiguration. Hey, it's great we're here. Let's build 3 tabernacles. he's off. He's got a vision. He's okay. I got this. She said, other places we got to go. And part of the challenge with a lot of apostles is they get very fixated on a program, on a building, on something, and they just want to keep going rather than going. I mean, one of the beauties, I think, again, what the Lord released through Jerry about the carrier is that we understand we got to be ready to move any point in time. Right? We got to shift and go with what's next. That's why we haven't gone into some big building and done all that other stuff. It gives us the flexibility of whatever God has. Instead, we go out and do things. That makes sense? So Deborah has to come to Barak and give him the word, and then Barak, in the apostolic function, he goes and wars, right? But it's got to be tuned to the prophetic. Okay. We're aligned with Chuck Pierce, right? Chuck is an apostle and a prophet, but the prophet always has to lead, and he understands that. Okay? That prophetic's got to be. And he also knows that it doesn't have to come from him. The prophetic comes in the room, it's given whoever, and then you go with it. Okay? Shelley had that stuff. The prophetic came in the room there. Okay? And then you saw a way in which it was implemented there and then re-implemented there. But see, it came into the, do you understand? Otherwise we would have just had we would have kept going, a nice worship time and everything. Standard apostolic is, okay, no, wait a minute. Shh. You got to clear it through me first. Oh, no. That'll get too late. You know, people get upset if they're not out of here right at 9. And you squash the Holy Spirit. Hello? No? Okay. It's actually the same with the ark moving, if you understand, because it was God. It was the revelation is that the cloud lifted and started to go. That is the prophetic, folks. It's time to leave. And then the apostolic comes, okay, we're going out in war units, and we follow. Make sense? Okay, prophetic and the apostolic. So, follow the ark, right? Ark, what ark? Would it be nice if it was always this clear, right? When God said, okay, I'm moving. But here's what we have to be aware of. A lot of times we don't see because we stop looking. Because we're comfortable. I don't want to go. Because change isn't easy. I know some people love change. I need change. I don't always love it, but I need it, right? The other thing is we look, but we don't see because we don't want to go that way. We're a lot like, you know this movie? Bruce Almighty, when he's in the car. I just need a sign, God. I just need a sign. And then this truck pulls up in front of him with wrong way, stop, dead end. And he keeps going, right? We're a lot of times like that. And then we're ticked off because God didn't show us. Ark is moving. And there is, again, this battle cry. So it was whenever the ark sent out. So this is God saying it's time, right? You get that. It's moving. That Moses said. So Moses comes in agreement. But I love this declaration. Rise up, O Lord. Let whose enemies? Your enemies be scattered. And let those who hate you flee. Is he very, very clear about whose battle it is? And that the Lord, right, is present? Okay? And then we're following. We're going with this. So our part is to get in there and follow after. But I love this then. He would say when it rested, return, O Lord, to the many thousands of Israel. If you look at this, the first part is about an offensive move of God. The second is about a protective return. You see this? Interesting that when they first say this, they're just moving down the road. They're not in any fight. But every time the declaration, rise up, O Lord, every time they saw movement, that was what they declared. Every time when there's movement like that, they're saying, this is all about you, God. This is your journey, your fight. You're going to get it done. So she looks kind of like this. I'd rather change her out to this. Okay. Is God present? Really fully? Am I acknowledging? Am I submitting? What is this battle? I need clarity, Lord. Clear the fog. Show me. Is this your fight or not? And then where's my place and part? That's pretty simple, isn't it? It's not complicated, but it doesn't mean that it's easy. Because you'll start to do the first one and the enemy will try to hijack you immediately. Oh, wait a minute, what about that? Did you pay that bill or not? Or does that, I wonder if, and the front yard's looking a little crazy and, no, none of you had that problem. Hmm? You recognize those questions? Yeah, those just. Lord, are you fully present? Fully present. Yes, you are present. We make ourselves present to him. We call for him, and I will never leave you or forsake you. We need that manifest presence, though. What is this battle? I don't know. Maybe oversimplified, but I wanted to give you something that just kind of boom, 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 okay? The battles are intensifying. The distractions are increasing. We're in a season of increased warfare, not decreased. And in increased warfare, those questions becoming more and more important so that you're not in the wrong fight. And you know what? Here's the issue. A lot of those fights you may think you belong in are good fights. They're good. They're for good and honorable and noble things. They're just not the one you're supposed to be in. And you got to know that. Last week we were talking about not my circus, not my monkey. Sometimes you got to go, it's not God's circus and it's not God's monkey. So I ain't going in. And that's hard because a lot of times you want to, especially like I know for a lot of us guys, we just want to jump in and fix things. That's a real danger. We want to jump in and fix. And so we get into a battle that isn't ours. Because God's saying, whoa, I need you to let that perk. Short, sweet, short and sort of. Father, thank you for showing up. And just taking this where you wanted it to go. Lord, we're with you. This is your fight. That's great news. That's great news. Lord, help us to discern those battles that are not ours, the distractions, the ways we're fighting things out there that are just not what we're supposed to be. Give us the centeredness in you to discern the difference and to be at peace about it. And then, Lord, let us just hook onto you just like we did earlier and let you take us for a ride wherever you want to go. Rise up, O Lord. Let your enemies be scattered. Lord, may this become just a clear battle cry for us, bringing the clarity of what you're about and that we belong to you. In the name of Jesus. Amen.